Hey everybody, I'm having a problem. All right, let's see. I'm trying to paste the games from the PGNs, and it's not working. I'm trying to see why. I've made some corrections, but still not working. Let's see. Let's get rid of this. That might help. Darn. It doesn't like one of the PGNs, but I don't know why. I've looked at all the PGNs. It look okay. I don't know whose is messed up. Okay, well, I'm going to have to delete them one at a time, see which one's messed up. This isn't good. I'm deleting all of them. Okay, I had to delete all the games. So that means the first one was bad. I don't know why. Okay, Sid Bear's game is okay. It looks like just the first game was bad, but I don't know why. It's the worst one to have bad unless I started with that one. Well, that's not good either. All right, so 2 of them were bad. Yeah, if your PGNs are bad, sorry. Can't look at your games. Wow, it says this one's bad too. Oh, that's because it doesn't have move 1. It's still bad? Darn. Let me get rid of all this crap. Wow, that didn't fix it, getting rid of all the crap. I don't know why the PGN's bad. It just is. It could be a chess.com problem or a Discord problem that all the PGNs are so bad. No wonder it wasn't working. Doesn't like any of your PGNs. Actually, I see a mistake in this PGN. Let me try to fix this one. Yeah, you guys didn't do good this time. Half the PGNs you sent me were faulty. This one has 2 mistakes that I see. The number 1's missing, and after number 8 there's a comma. Wonder if that fixes it. That fixed it. Okay. So of the 7 games that were sent today, I get to look at 5 of them. Mountain Dew, subscribe. Thank you. You're the best. No, yours actually worked. The people who do it all the time, Sit Bear and Bonarici, theirs worked. Yeah, I got my eye surgery so long ago, I forgot about it. It was almost 2 weeks ago. It was on a Tuesday, just 12 days ago. You reposted yours? Yeah, that's the worst reposting ever. I still can't copy move 1. Well, at least that worked. When we get to a Mountain Dew, you have to tell me what color you are. Although I guess I could look at the wrong one and find out what color you were. Let's see, you were black. All right, we'll start with yours because yours was the first game. Hey, Ben, I hate playing against the London. Let's see, where did it go? Oh, yeah, I got rid of it. That's smart. Hey, Ben, I hate playing against the London. As black, I've historically won 52% of my e4, e5 games, but less than 20% of d4, d5 bishop at 4 games. Instead of productively learning the ideas and opening lines, I've instead decided to annoyingly try copying ideas, mirror opening few moves, don't take bishops, slide back to open rooks. Thoughts on this approach? That's the greatest approach ever. Yeah, you can do that, I guess. Yeah, playing weird against the London is good because people usually just make the same moves. Please tell me one is the Dr. Lupo game. For sure. Yeah, well, Archer heard of Dr. Lupo before the shenanigans, but my daughter, Iram, never heard of Dr. Lupo. Terrible. Okay, so our hero is black. Yeah, so far so good. No mistakes. Uh, PT PTALV0166 streams subscribed. Yay, thanks for the sub. If you play 3c5, you have to commit d5 already. What? What's wrong with the Dutch? All right, I don't understand the c5 on move 2 or 3, but okay. Knight c6 is a bit unusual. It's not terrible. These moves are all fine. Knight h4 doesn't make a lot of sense because you can take this. The knight's silly on h4. Yeah, now that doesn't make a lot of sense because white can play bishop a4 and pin your knight. Bishop d3 instead of bishop a4? Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. Now you can take on g3 and your opponent has to ruin their pawn structure. Or you could do that. Yeah, here white should play knight takes. Develop their knight. Yeah, that loses a pawn because white can take, play queen g4. Yay, Zippy Tuna gave 5 gift memberships on YouTube. Thanks, Zippy Tuna. You're the best. Yeah, there's no way to safely defend the pawn because knight d2 is coming. If you play f5, you're hanging your g-pawn. That would be this line. Then g-pawn hangs. Then you lose another pawn. And if queen d5, I can play knight d2. Same thing. This is funny, like, I would play king d7 here, which is what black played, but the engine says king e7, bishop takes, rook b8 is winning for black. There's a p-sec you don't see very often. I'll show you a funny variation. And if queen a5, which for some reason the engine says is the best move, then queen g3, god damn. And the idea is taking loses because you get checkmated. Then king here, knight f2 is mate. And king here, then f5 is mate. I don't know who's playing king e7. Maybe Magnus. Another important point is if queen a3 to trade queens, then rook takes b1 check and wins the queen. Okay, nobody's doing that. King d7. Rook f1's a bad move. f5 is okay. The engine plays rook takes h2, but I understand f5. In this position, white played bishop f1. Always play bishop f1. Yeah, white didn't play very well that game. White made a lot of mistakes. But yeah, keeping the king in the center and not developing the queenside pieces, missing all the tactics. Those were some of White's mistakes. It seems like you did a good job against the London. Trying to Learn subscribed at tier 2. Yay, thanks Trying to Learn. Black was busy with his king rook. He couldn't castle. He was busy. Anyway, I thought you played the opening fine. B4 wasn't good. This position, because it allowed bishop a4, which white didn't play. And then taking with the pawn is weird when you take with the knight. Fen Beingold, 500 bits. Thanks, Fen Beingold. Yeah, and then queen a4 is a mistake. Then rook f1 is a mistake. Bishop d3 is a mistake. Bishop d3 is hard to understand. These are like white's 2 best pieces. So it's weird to play that way. It's Karen, probably.
Yeah, I was getting a couple of things from Mrs. Jared.
Yeah, good finish. I should plug my phone in. The Braves game was disappointing last night, except I was so tired from my trip. I didn't watch the bottom of the ninth. I just assumed the Braves would lose because they were up 6-2, and then they kept giving up runs with their relief pitching. Yeah, Braves relief pitching has been terrible this year. Not enough blunders. When was the eye correction scheduled? 12 days ago. Boy, there's always a lot of colors in the Sit Bear game. Engine never likes Sit Bear's games. Sit Bear likes the games. That's all that matters. Another Sit Bear specialty. Oh, Big Daddy gave 1 bit and he subscribed. Yay, we're on level 2. Big Daddy keeps giving 1 bit. Another Sit Bear specialty where I took some pawns and then put up a tough defense. Then our time ran low and we played terrible. Yeah, the engine doesn't like a lot of moves this game. But that happens in your games. Got to get Hit Bear back. I'm thinking of buying a gaming chair. Are they worth it? I don't know. My wife bought this one. I like it. Oh yeah, they have a concert venue, the Battery near Truist Park. Yeah. Yeah, we went to a game last Sunday. Or was it 2 Sundays ago? I guess it was 2 Sundays ago. I don't even remember. Yeah, 2 Sundays ago. You could make one special move in chess. Ugh. Yeah, people seem to like the Battery area. I'm new to chess, 350 rapid. How should I go start to learn openings? You can get Chessable courses for your level. Then just read them over and over again and work on them. Yeah, watching videos on the internet is good. As long as they're chess videos and nothing else. Yeah, you can get opening series like Starting Out, or for beginners or novice players. Okay, Sit Bear's white. It says he's 1593 and his opponent's 1803. This was played over the board last September. Game 45 plus 5. You hear black played H5. That's a move I don't know. Engine gives it a question mark. I think black usually plays G4 here. Never play F6, even when the engine says it's right. H4 looks normal. I'm not sure why it says dubious. Yeah, Bishop E7 doesn't look right. Too passive. Queen d7 is the best move. What? Who would play Queen d7 hanging their f pawn? Okay, now fg is the best move, so he played fe. Yeah, the engine doesn't like this game. I'm not sure why black took on f3, I guess, to weaken e5. Bishop takes f3, exclam. Bam. That is the best move. King f2 looks okay. This just says white's winning because white's up 3 pawns and has the 2 bishops. Yeah, white's technique is pretty good. Except for that move. Yeah, the problem with rook f1 is black can take, and then after rook takes, bishop takes e5. So here, white should play bishop d2, allow his pawn to be captured. Then white's winning because he's up material. Oh, this actually happened. Wow, white won down a rook. White won this position. Well, wait a minute. Can't we check on this diagonal and then win the G pawn? Like anywhere. Like, okay, here. Then if the king moves to the 3rd rank, we take the G pawn. The king moves to the 5th rank, we check and take the G pawn. And black has 3 ways to go about it. They all win the G pawn. Bishop d6 is still winning, but now white has 2 passed pawns. So black could blunder, which I'm sure he did. Rook takes c4 is actually the best move. Yeah, this says black is +6. It's a pretty strong pawn. How did white win? Okay, now black has to stop king f7, which he can do with king g8 or bishop c1. Bishop c1 is the easiest because you just win all the pawns. No, you can't allow king f7. No. No, boo. Boo to your opponent. Bam. First played in the game, gotcha versus bitch. Boy, black straight at 1800 and allowed king f7. Man, king f7 is pretty strong. That's right. If he played any worse, he'd be 2100. Well, that wasn't the best game of the day. Or was it? No, it wasn't. Yeah, white was up several pawns. Then white blundered a rook. Then white won down a rook in the endgame. And he was, black was +6 in this position and didn't play king g8, stopping here. Then after king g8, we just queen r8 pawn. Or bishop c1, which is even better. Then you're threatening the pawn, and if h7, then bishop goes back to b2, and pawns are useless. Jimster1234 subscribed. That's like trying to learn 1, 2, 3, 4, except it's Jimster. Man, if I was black here in time trouble, I'd be very afraid of king to f7. Now, if I'm correct, and I'm not saying I'm correct, but I'm going to ask the engine. Real Sean Deep subscribed. I thought Real Sean Deep subscribed like my last stream. Oh, I guess not. Thanks, Sean. Bishop g7 seems like it should win pretty easily. The engine doesn't say bishop g7, but maybe that's the third best move. Or maybe I'm wrong. Bishop g7 plus 9 for black. Yeah, that just wins. Yeah, the only thing we have to worry about is king f7. Bishop g7 threatens the pawn, so... I can't even tell if trying to learn's kidding or not. Thanks for subscribing, Sean. Okay, that was a good game or something. Okay, the next one, black is our hero. I mean, white. That's close. Black is NN. White says, been watching GM Amon Hambleton's Habits series to try to simplify my game because chess is hard. And it's 50-50 on if I'll hang a piece in a given game. This was one of my better games. Okay, both players are in the 700s. 10-minute game played on chess.com. I haven't seen bishop b4. That seems okay. Yeah, knight d5 seems like a good response. Yeah, knight d4, I think, just hangs the pawn on e5. And then the engine says white's winning. Although the engine also likes white a lot after taking here for some reason. Okay, that move's okay, but knight takes e5 just wins a pawn. Ooh, d6. Ooh. Ooh, I have to have some water after that. Ooh. There's bad moves, there's really bad moves, and then there's d6. That reminds me of the time about 25 years ago, the board had 2 pair and a king, and a guy bet on the river, and I called for the chop. And when I called, he mucked. I figured he didn't have anything, and I was right. Probably I should have raised. Those were the days. A Sid and Ho subscribed. It's like a sit and go, but it's a Sid and Ho. Yeah, black has to play bishop e7. Yeah, d6 is not good. I think knight takes is better. The engine says h3 is the best move and b4 is the second best move because there's no defense of this. But I would take with the bishop forking the queen and rook like a normal person. The engine says the best move is knight g8, threatening queen f7 mate. I like knight g8. Now it's only the second best move. Terrible. Put it in h. He keeps putting it in h. d5's not good because white has everything on d5. So that doesn't make a lot of sense. Put it in h. Ooh, knight c7 exclam. Former muscle. Knight c7 is the best move. Now the engine says the best move is king e7, which I'm guessing wasn't played. So now we're threatening knight takes rook, queen takes rook, and knight e6 check. And if queen takes, then queen takes rook, king e7, queen takes the other rook. So tough position. Yeah, that's what happened. Good exchange sack. Engine recommended. Now the engine announces mate. Rook e1 is the best move. And then mate. You have your choice. Oh, white played very well. I wouldn't guess that white's rated less than 800. I might guess black is rated less than 800, but I wouldn't guess that white was. I went to Soviet Russia. Hi, Chess TV. I'm Ben. Last week, or whenever I streamed last Sunday, if it was last Sunday or 2 Sundays ago, I was complaining that they put me on Chess TV at the wrong time, when in fact, they put me on Chess TV at the right time. I'm just crazy. Yeah, I went to the Soviet Union in 1984 for 3 weeks. Then in 1990, I went back because my wife at the time, I don't remember which wife, was playing in the interzonal for women. She won for the Benelux region, Belgium, Netherlands, France, and Luxembourg. She won the zonal. And so she got to go to the interzonal. and that was in Azov. And you probably haven't heard of the city of Azov, but you've heard of the Sea of Azov, except you haven't heard of the Sea of Azov either. But you heard of a big city near Azov, Rostov-on-Don, except you haven't heard of Rostov-on-Don. But that's all I can tell you. Rostov-on-Don has 1 billion people. So we flew from, I actually flew after Karen, or not Karen, Gina. I forgot which wife it was. And I don't remember why I flew after her. I don't remember what the deal was, because I was doing something. Then I went to Zurich or Geneva, I can't remember. Then I flew to Moscow. Then I flew to Rostov. Then we took a bus to Azov. Azov, not a big tourist city if you're a Westerner. Karen bought me this chair several years ago. I don't know what kind it is. I actually can't remember if it was Zurich or Geneva. I actually don't remember. I stayed overnight in a hotel. I couldn't afford breakfast. I didn't have enough money. I had like no cash on me and no credit cards. So I was flying all over the world. The Soviet Chess Federation was supposed to pick me up at the airport in Moscow when I got there and take me to the sport hotel and feed me and give me a room and, treat me like a nice person. But they had the wrong day. So they didn't know I was coming in. So I found a taxi and I showed the taxi driver my ticket, which was in Russian, that said I had to change airports in Moscow. So I went to the big airport when I flew from Switzerland. Then I had to go to the suspicious airport, which flies to Azov. And so the cab driver looked at my ticket. He's like, yeah. And then he drove me to the other airport. And then I showed a person who worked at the airport my ticket. And then she said, yeah, you sit over there. So I sat for 8 hours by myself with nothing to eat or drink, nothing to do. And then eventually my plane took off. And when I got to Azov, I got to Rostov, I got off with the Soviets instead of the foreigners, which was wrong. I was supposed to get off with the foreigners. And then eventually somebody found me. It was like the translator. The translator said that nobody picked them up from the airport and when they got to Rostov, and they had to find a bus to the playing site, on their own. But at least they speak Russian. So I was lucky I got picked up in Rostov. But then on the way back, I got picked up in Moscow, and they were like, sorry, we're supposed to pick you up on the way here. We just had the wrong day. Then they took me to get me food and hotel, even though I was just over and over. I was only there for 4 hours. Let's see. It says clutch, and the T is a funny T. So the chair is a clutch chair. Karen bought it from me a long time ago. What's funny is, in '84, when I went to Soviet Russia, I stayed in the sport hotel. Then in 1990, I was at the sport hotel for 3 or 4 hours. After being there for 3 weeks. Then I went to Russia in 2011 with Hikaru. Me and Hikaru were like that, son. And I was his second for the Tall Memorial. I didn't do a good job as a second. Moscow in 2011 was a lot different than Moscow in 1984. Sarawan, watch my Sarawan video. That's good. Why weren't you good as a second? Well, I'm just going by the performance of Hikaru. He came in last and didn't win any games. Tournament was pretty strong. Like Anand played, Kramnik, Carlsen, Nepo, and those were the weak players. Damn. I do like hot sauces. Who won? It was a tie for first. I think Magnus and Kramnik. Anand got 9 draws in 9 games. Nepo won his first game and drew his next 8. I think he was the lowest rated player. I saw Averbach there, and he was old even then. And alive. Let's see, the other players were Svidler, Gelfand. Let's see, Kramnik, Carlsen, Anand, Gelfand, Svidler, Hikaru, Nepo. I had 3 more. Ivanchuk. He was one of them. So I named most of the players. He was a cook. The greatest cook ever. But he got too cocky. Put too much spices on the bad meat. Thought he could cover it up. Yeah, Gelfand and Anand played a world championship match a few months after the Tull Memorial. About 5 months later, I guess. Nowadays, chess players can play where they want. I think in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, there were a lot of good Soviet players who weren't allowed to leave the Soviet Union, so they couldn't crush everybody outside the Soviet Union. Morozevich was one of the spectators. He had played the year before. That was a good game. Like, if it was guess the rating, I wouldn't be guessing in the 700s for white. That's for sure. Okay, next game, both players are also in the 700s. What is this, the 700 club? Oh, snap. Howdy, howdy. New to the game, and I'm really enjoying this opening. Not my best game, but also not my worst. Long way to go, but I'm taking steps. And remember, when you have checkmate in one, find something better. Okay, both players are in the 790s on chess.com. This game was played today, I guess. It's a 10-minute game, and white is our hero. What is 700 playing knight f3 on move 1? Kenny Chess 1234 subscribed. There's a lot of 1, 2, 3, 4 subscribing today. I'll get younger later. Yeah, this game is pretty good. Well, knight g4 is not. There's good and there's not good. That's not good. D5 is not very good either. Castle's queen side is a little risky. Knight b5 is sort of odd. Knight doesn't have anywhere to go. Yeah, c3 is good. That move just hangs the b pawn because not sufficiently defended anymore. Still says white's slightly better. That move, yeah, loses material because of b4. I guess you can play queen b6. Then knight a4, bishop f2. I'm too old for that. Knight e4 is also a good move. Yeah, f5's not good because of b4. No! Yeah, b4 wins the piece. Because if bishop takes f2, then knight takes f2. Yeah, white doesn't want to trade queens. White should play b4, rook c1, etc. Yeah, e4 is interesting. Typically, black would just go back and give up the e pawn. But e4 is interesting. The engine doesn't like it. But it's interesting. Rook e1's a weird move. Yeah, in this position, white can take on b7. Then if black takes rook b1, white's a pawn up. If you play rook b1 first, then black can play bishop d5. e3 just hangs the pawn on d3. Sort of like a3 hung the pawn on b3. White keeps making the same mistake. Put it in H. Yeah, that move's not good because of rook b2 attacking the rook and the bishop. Yeah, and that move loses to rook c2 attacking the rook and the bishop. Bishop c4 is a blunder. White found the winning move. Yeah, and you can just take, and then if rook takes, king g3 wins. Now it's black just plays b5 and it's about equal. Yeah, now white's doing great. Yeah, in this position, white should play rook c6. Try to get the rook to g6. Yeah, and here, black has to stop rook d8 check. So king c8 is about equal. Now it says white's completely winning because bishop g4 must win. Yeah, we can play king g3 or bishop g4 and eventually win. That's a blunder because I can either take with check or play bishop g4. They both win. Yeah, rook f5 is probably the worst move of the game. Forcing white to win. No, I didn't win. Yeah, bishop g4 wins. Rook takes c8 check wins. Darn. So many wins. Now white's still winning, it says, because the pin is too strong. Then rook g5 was forced to stop bishop g4. Or doesn't matter. And white's winning anyway. Yeah, bishop f5 wasn't good. Also possible is queen takes rook. This position, rook takes is mate, and queen e5 is mate, and queen h2 is mate. But making him suffer, he wrote, when you have mate in one, look for better. Yeah, he played mate. He got rid of the rook first, then he mated. But he didn't take the rook right away. Anyway, white played a lot better than black did that game. Black made a lot of tactical errors. White just made a few. Favorite Soviet Russia player? I don't know, maybe Kasparov. He was pretty good. Most of the greatest Soviet Russia players weren't from Russia. Like Tal and Petrosian, Garez, Kasparov. But they're Soviet Russia. I was in Soviet Georgia. Now I live in Soviet Georgia. And truth hurts. Have engines tainted the game of chess? I wouldn't say they've tainted it. They've made people play more accurately. Oh, you can get engines to insult you. You can play my bot. Go engines. Who's a present underrated player? Nobody's underrated. Everybody's exactly their rating, except any kid. Engines are good for blunder checking if you don't have a coach. So like if it's like all zeros, then you make a move and it's like +4, then that's good for that. Well, Botorici, you showed up late. I had a lot of trouble with the PGNs. There were mistakes in a few of them. And then one guy submitted his game again. One game I fixed. And I couldn't fix that game. Yeah, I had a lot of trouble when I started the stream. I couldn't get the games to get in the classroom. Yeah, don't fix it for me. We need less 107 move games. I don't know what WSG is. I'm an old man. Is that like the Wall Street Journal, but you misspelled it? WSG means what's good. Yeah, World Sickest Gramps sounds better. No, why'd you do that, Bodorici? Boo. You're banned. And your children's children. Yeah, it says invalid PGN. I copied what you fixed. Well, there's 3 dots here. Let me get rid of those. No. I'll get rid of the header. Just have the moves. Oh, because it says fixed 107 move draw. That's probably why it's broken. No, you fixed it. Boo. The thing is, like, practically 100 men would run away, so they wouldn't win. But theoretically, if the 100 men all fought to the death for some reason, and they just all charged the gorilla, there's nothing he can do. But a lot of people don't want to be in the front and die. So, yeah. So theoretically, the men would win. Practically, I don't think a lot of men would be willing to die so they'd win. So they wouldn't want to be the first one to start crushing the ape or whatever. Yeah, gorillas are good. Typically, they're vegetarians. Yeah, silverback versus grape ape would be good. It just shows you the kind of world we live in. Nobody cares about, like, Israel murdering civilians by the tens of thousands. But the hypothetical of a gorilla versus 100 men is all anybody talks about on the internet. Blah. That's the world that I live in. The world where nobody's vegan, everybody's religious. Terrible. And so forth. Okay, let me see what the guy wrote. Ugh. Longest game of the day. Draw agreed, so arbiters can go home. Now, normally, Vartanank puts his Vartanank, but he actually put his real name. And since White's first name is Vardan, and his name's Vartanank, I guess that he's the guy who's white. Wouldn't bet my life on it, but I'd bet some money. Var, you were white. It's downloaded from the web. What? Oh. Rostov on Vardan. Yeah. I mean, there's a contest called Eurovision that makes me even madder than the other stuff. You're on YouTube, so you can't send a game. You have to be a Twitch sub. Then you have to connect your Twitch to your Discord. And by that time, people usually give up. I once gave 50,000 bits to Mark Esserman to get a lesson. Good, good. The lesson is I don't spend 50,000 bits. Okay, we wasted enough time. Okay, and then my analysis of this game is, and 106 moves later, the game ended in a draw. Now we'll go to the next game. Still theory. It's funny. Vartsanan gave 5 subs. This move hangs a pawn, but it's like a sacrifice. And like, it's recommended by some people. Whenever my opponents play, I just take a pawn and they sit there forever. But it's actually like a recommended move. I would still take the pawn, and the engine does too, but white's not really much better. The engine says put it in H. H5, Queen G5. I thought we are done. We haven't even started yet. Yeah, the engine says King F1. Typically, if you have to play King F1, Rook G1, or G3, you play King F1. Always play King F1. Yeah, the engine doesn't like knight e7. Now it says it's equal. The engine doesn't like f6, obviously. Now it says white's better. That's just a blunder. Yeah, you have to play knight c3 here. Knight d2 just loses. Now you're lost. Yeah, and that's a mistake. B5 is better. Then I assume the reason black didn't do this is black was worried about bishop takes b5 check. But engine says this is like plus 1,000 for black. That is white's king is finished. So b5 is like plus 3 for black. But okay, he played bishop d7. Also good for black. Yeah, knight d5 is a mistake. Black should play knight c6. Now white's okay again. Engine wants to play queen b3. Yeah, c3 blocks the bishop. Says black is slightly better. It doesn't like this move because of a4. Also says black's better here. Yeah, white's king isn't very good. Okay, now it says white's better. Yeah, I can see why this game went 107 moves. Always sack the exchange. Also, it's the only move. And that's a blunder. In this position, the engine prefers rook takes d6 and king f8? Yeah. Yeah, not king f6 and c4, c5. This says plus 3.3 for black. This is also good, but in this position, black should play king f8. He played king e8, making bishop takes b5 even stronger. Now it says white's better. Then he played king f8, triangulation. And it says that's a mistake. That's a mistake. It says black's better, but good drawing chances. Then it says that's a mistake, and now it says all zeros. Yeah, it's hard for anybody to win this. Maybe white can win. I don't see how black can win. But the engine just says all zeros, because we can't ever give up our f-pawn. So we just have to chill. Wow, f4. God damn. The engine says it's okay. Black wants to move the king in, I guess. But yeah, now white's winning. Yeah, now white has too many extra pawns and the a pawn's strong. So black went too far. Yeah, this is just easy win for white. Ooh, now it's a draw. It says king c3 or king b2 is winning. Now, king a2 is a draw. Queen d1 is the only drawing move. Okay, now white's winning again with king b3. Now king b2 or king c3 wins. Rook takes c6? Wow. That's the craziest move I've ever seen. I like it. Yeah, just king b2 or king c3 wins. Now it says it's a draw. This reminds me of Sitbear's game, except white's doing fine here because black can't do anything. I've never seen this material distribution. A bishop and 5 pawns for a queen with 4 passed pawns. Yeah, if I was playing a class player here, I would expect to win with white. The engine says it's a draw, but I guess the c pawn is going to be lost now. All right, I guess this is just a draw now. Oh, now it says white's winning. No! Bishop g5 check wins. And then f4 check. Then bishop f4 check. And then, wow. So this wins. Then queen. Then the king gets to go here. And now white's winning. But he played king h3. Now it's a draw again. Boy, this game was really exciting at the end. Yeah, now white can't do anything. And game was agreed drawn by the arbiters, who wanted to go home. That was an interesting game. Black was winning, white was winning, the white was winning again, etc. How to submit a game for Sun Sunday? Impossible. Type exclam analysis. Or is it exclam analyze? It's one of them. Bonarici knows. Knows how to exclam analysis. Yeah, that's it. I got to ban somebody. That was good. Against Dina Polito. Yeah. This game could have gone longer. Hello. Welcome to the stream. Ugh. Yeah, white was more winning than black. Let's see if the Braves are playing the Red Sox now. Yay, the Braves won 10-4. I guess they started early. Wow, the Red Sox were up 4-1. Red Sox scored 4 runs in the second inning. That's all they scored. And then... Oh, no, they weren't up 4-1. It doesn't show the first inning. They were up 4-3. So Atlanta was up 3-0, then 4-3, then Atlanta kept scoring the rest of the game. Ozuna had 3 RBI. Good, good. Everybody on the Braves had an RBI. Harris, White, Allen, Albies, Olsen, Baldwin, Riley, Ozuna. Man, everybody was pitching in today. Even the pitcher. Boy, they didn't take the starter out until he gave up 7 runs in 4 innings. That was mean. So in June, there won't be a lot of streaming from me because I'm going to be in Vegas June 3rd to 9th. Then I'm going to be in Vegas June 19th to July 3rd. So there won't be any streams. We're going to make a lot of 5 minutes with Ben and put them out daily while we're gone. The second trip to Vegas, I'm going with Karen. She's playing in the World Series of Poker. The first trip, I'm going to the National Open to work at the tournament. Lectures, simuls, camps, etc. Can I invite you to dinner in Vegas? Yeah, probably better when Karen and I are there, because during the National Open, like, I'm working. But yeah, we can try to figure out how to have dinner at one of those times. Oh yeah, I assume you lived in Vegas, or are you just going to the National Open or the World Series? Oh, for WSOP? Yeah, my email is gmfeingold@gmail.com. So email me and we'll give each other our phone numbers or something. Or email me your phone number so we can contact each other. We're there. Well, the World Series of Poker is going on when I'm there for the National Open. So maybe you'll be there too. But June 19th to July 3rd is the longest we'll be there. What is WSOP? You're banned. I think King C3 wins too. Yeah, King C3 also wins. It's hard to give checks after King here. Okay, our hero next game is Bonarici. Is there game analysis today? I mean, several hours after I posted on Discord, game analysis 7:30. Road to 2085. Yeah, if there's not game analysis, I announce it on streams previous, like Friday and Saturday. Unless there's something happens, Like, there almost wasn't game analysis today because Karen was playing poker until right before the stream started. If she had not got knocked out, she was in the small blind and she went all in with sevens with 13 bigs. And the big blind called with eights. Terrible. How does the big blind wake up with eights? Anyway, if she hadn't lost that hand, maybe she's still playing. And there is no stream. Starting next week for 7 weeks. Yeah. Karen didn't have a good day in poker. Which is a lot of days for a lot of people. Yeah, I'm staying at the Flamingo for the National Open. That's the tournament site. And then Karen and I are staying at the Horseshoe when we're there June, July. Okay, so Bonarici's black. He's our hero. This is a 3-minute game played a couple weeks ago. E6 is what I usually play. I've never seen G3. Bishop D2? This guy's rated 2031 and he plays Bishop D2? Wow. If I was doing guess the rating, White's rating wouldn't be very high now. Yeah, there we go. Bishop F4. Yeah, black's just better here. G5 is a good move because you get the two bishops. Bishop E3, knight G4. And now it says it's equal. Wants to take with the F pawn in that position. I usually like taking with a D pawn, but probably not here. E3 is terrible. All right, so this is just equal. Black's better because black fights for the C file. Queen can go to, this queen's stupid on H5. Yeah, bishop's good on D5. Still a draw, but black's the one playing for a win. Yeah, that just gives away the C file. That's terrible. Queen E2 is terrible. Queen takes queen. Wow. That just loses immediately. Yeah, now the game is over. Why, this guy's 2031? He plays rook E2. After rook C1, he can resign? Man. I guess I play bad in 3-minute too. But you're clearly better than this guy. Rook E1, hoping that you pre-moved bishop C4. That's the only move the guy played that I liked. Like if you're black, you could see pre-moving bishop C4 here. Then after there, bishop C4 loses. But you didn't pre-move, so rook E1 was a chance. Then he resigned. Yeah, that game's not good for Sub Sunday because you played too well. We like to see funny stuff. But yeah, rook E2. And this is like the other game where there was some shenanigans here on this diagonal, but colors were reversed. And like, black was never playing, the winning move on the diagonal. Yeah, if both players have less than 15 seconds left, rook E1's an excellent move. or I'm going to use the restroom, and then I'll be back. Unless I don't come back, then I passed away. That's sort of dark, but yeah, it's funny. That game, something I talk about a lot. The reason I say people like that are under 2100 are beginners, even though it's probably not true, is the way to become 2000 is to never blunder. And in this game, White made a lot of moves that don't make any sense and give Black the advantage. And the engine says Black has the advantage. But then in this position, White played rook e2. That's a beginner's blunder because after rook c1, you have to resign. Rook c1 is the most obvious move. Bishop c4 is an unstoppable threat, and so forth. And so typically, 2000 player wouldn't play rook e2, but the other bad moves that he made this game, he would still play and still be 2000 because he doesn't play moves like rook e2. And Bonarici didn't play any move anywhere near as bad as rook e2. So Black was better, and then White made a terrible blunder, and that's why, I can usually spot a queen to 16, 1700s and still win, because you guys blunder a lot. Like, if you want to be good at chess, you can't make a move like rook e2. That's how you get from sub 1000 to like 1700, is you never make moves like rook e2, and then after rook c1 go, oh, I didn't see rook c1. Oh, well, I lose. And by the way, 90% of why this happens is when I ask my student, why did you play rook e2? Did you expect rook c1? And they're not really, they didn't expect anything. They don't play chess like that. They're like, rook e2, that threatens to trade rooks. My rook is defended. And then that's it. And then they don't look for what Black's best response is, because they never do that. And then when their opponent makes a move they didn't see that wins, they're like, oh, I didn't see that. Because basically they didn't see anything. They saw rook takes rook, bishop takes rook, and that was the end of their analysis. And after rook c1, if I ask the same student, what do you think of this position? They'll be like, Black's winning. And I'm like, then why'd you play rook e2? And they're like, I don't know. I played rook e2. Give me a break. Sip Bear subscribe. Thank you. Always sack the exchange. I mean, I wouldn't guess that guy's very high rated by the way he played the opening, but the way he played the opening gave Black the advantage. It didn't lose. So it wasn't a big deal. Yeah, but he was a golf US champion. That's why he dropped a rook and a simul. Your game was shallow and pedantic. Your game was you winning, then you hung a rook, and then your opponent let you play king f7 instead of winning. Your game was filled with blunders and such. So it was fun for the audience. Larry Christensen, he blundered a queen once for a piece in a slow game, and then against like a 2000, then he won anyway. You got to draw out of it. Yeah, when Larry hangs a rook or a queen, he still doesn't lose. I believe anything, Sitbear. Yeah, I was surprised you won down a rook, because the guy could have won your g-pawn right away. Let's go back to Sitbear's game so I can explain the key points in the game. Okay. So in this position, bishop d2 wins. This loses. And in this position, instead of playing bishop d6 check, the guy should put his bishop on one of the red squares, and then he wins your g-pawn. Because you're in check, and then if you play king to the third rank, you just lose your g-pawn immediately, and king to the fifth rank, you lose it next move. I mean, then it would have been hard to come back. God damn. And then in this position, the engine said king g8 or bishop c1 was winning, but my winning move was bishop g7, which the engine also agreed was winning. Although, I don't know if I play bishop g7 in a tournament. Maybe. My a-pawn's queening, so I guess I would play it. Because that sort of stops everything, and then you just queen. Yeah, I mean, king f7 is a pretty obvious threat. Then, I mean, 1800 doesn't see king f7. Terrible. Okay, we got one more game to look at. Let's see. I can't find it. Give me a second. Ah, there it is. This game isn't very bad, but I hope the moves are exciting enough to make up for that. What? My highest rated opponent, if he had played something more challenging than 31 Queen e7, I almost certainly would have flagged. I had under 20 seconds remaining while he had 5 minutes. Okay, so white is 2101. He's our hero. Black is 2240. It's a 10-minute game with no increment on chess.com, played last month. So these are our highest rated players of the day. Yeah, e6 is just a poor move. Black should play queen a5, queen d5, or knight d7. I think this was a game Dina played against the guy she beat who hung his rook at the end, Brigazzi. I think she played queen d5 here. Yeah, that's the engine move. Yeah, e6 just blocks in the bishop on c8. So now white's better. Ooh. Yeah, after h6, white should definitely castle queenside and play for the g-pawn push. Then white has a monster advantage, it says. Black doesn't really have an attack. Black's bishop is bad. Yeah, castling kingside gives too much credit to black. Yeah, this is also very good for white. Queen f3 is okay. I wouldn't give it a question mark. g5, I would give a question mark. Yeah, now white's winning. White has a nice winning move here, which white played. Knight g6. That's a very complicated tactic, which ends up winning for white. The idea is when you take on d6, and he played queen f7. If he takes on d6, queen takes, you can't save your king side. Engine says white is up 3.4. So he played queen f7. White's still winning here. Better pawn structure, two bishops. Yeah, terrible position for black. Ooh, h5. Yeah, rook e3 is an excellent move. Always sack the exchange. You can't take the rook because I take and then you can't. It's terrible. Yeah, this is just the engine announces mate. Okay, so it played king h7, h3, g4. Yeah, and black can resign here, except white doesn't have any time on his clock. Okay, so in this position, black blundered, played queen e7. But the engine says white is up 5.6. So white completely outplayed black this game, and then white was getting with no time on their clock, and black blundered there. And now this is just mate. There's only one legal move. Actually, no, there's knight h6. Then you have your choice of mates. Or you can play queen e7 if you want to be mean. Yeah, and that's mate because the knight's pinned. This queen h5 mate with the knight pinned reminds me of a game I played in 1990. Let's find it. Against Landenberg. I think that's his name. It was a Nimzo Indian where we castled opposite sides and we were mating each other. Exciting. Yeah, this was played in Prague, which I knew. I just didn't say anything. This is one of my most exciting games. As long as you don't analyze it with an engine. Don't do that. So this was played 35 years ago. We both checkmating each other, so it was really exciting. Stop the game. It's too exciting. Damn. A4 exclam. Most of my students think black should take en passant, because most of my students don't know the rules. Okay, so if king f8, then queen d8 mate. If knight g7, queen to the back rank mate. And if king h8, then queen d8 check and queen h4 mate, which is similar mate to what you were looking at in the last game. Yeah, and if king h7, then queen f7 check and mate. Then he resigned. After here, this is checkmate. Yeah, same as the last game. With the bishop that knighted the king, or the queen on the H file. You can play rook g4 and then a4, but why play rook g4 and then a4? Then if I played a4, he wouldn't take it because he'd see the mate. But as the game went, he did take on a4. It doesn't matter. It's the same mate. Which game was more exciting, that one or this one? Man, I'm pretty mated here. Diagonals do have names. This is the A1, H8 diagonal. They do have names. That's how you say what diagonal you're on. The D1, H5 diagonal. I'm glad I could be of assistance. Do you like fast food? 95% of fast food isn't vegan, so no. I have a chessable course on everything. How many diagonals on chessboard? Many. Nobody's ever counted them all. It's too hard. Sometimes. Wow, we looked at all 8 games. I finally figured some stuff out. Bonarici helped. That was a good collaboration there. We got 10 minutes to kill. That's a good time to give subs and bits, donations, etc. Because you enjoyed the stream so much. Man, we're going to lose like 100 subs when I go to Vegas the second time. At least 100, probably more. Yeah, that was a fun game. It's too bad he didn't let me mate him. For those of you who were scared to like give your queen away, you can take and then play queen h4 mate. Then you're less scared. Yeah, how are you awake so late, Bonarici? Ridiculous. Also, how am I awake so late? "26 diagonals. Can you trust AI? I asked AI some questions, and all the answers were wrong because it turned out it wasn't artificial intelligence, it was Allen Iverson. Man, they tricked me on that one. Maybe the education secretary likes steak sauce. Who knows? All right, I'll raid somebody. Jules Gambit is playing poker, and Nemsko's just chatting. I always raid the chess sharks. Chess sharks it is. Because they're doing chess. All right, I'll see you guys on Tuesday. Thanks for watching. Bye, everyone.